All right, everyone, welcome to our latest webinar. I see all sorts of familiar names on here, so you guys all probably know the drill. For any new people, welcome. We're glad you found us. Housekeeping items, we do record all of these. Yes, we will send out links to you probably by tomorrow morning with the recording and with the slides. When you have questions as we go through this, make sure to hit the Q&A button, and then it shows up on our screen, and we'll answer your questions. Feel free to use the chat, say hello. There's people from all over the place today, east, west, and everywhere in between. Um, and I think that's all the housekeeping. Stacy, did I miss anything that I normally cover here? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, short background, who we are, that's us, that's our photo. You'll have to go back and watch the recording and pause it if you want to see more. Who we are, PSG, we are a fundraising consulting firm. Our people have worked all over the place. We do fundraising consulting. We run annual appeals for a whole lot of large organizations. We ended up falling backwards into doing a whole bunch of Razor's Edge database administration as clients just kept calling and saying, can we outsource this to you? We have a whole bunch of fun stuff in fundraising automation. That's who we are. That's what we do. Why it's relevant today is just we do webinars all the time. Anytime we learn something new or we run a test or we do some research, we make sure to do a webinar and share what we've learned for free. It's rewarding for us. It's a whole lot of fun. It's our way to kind of pay it forward, all the work that we've been doing. We have two wonderful software products. One is called Ask Genius, which Mr. Mankey runs. Ask Genius does one thing, and it does it really well. It sets the perfect ask amount for everybody on your list. So if you're doing a direct mail appeal, you can use Ask Genius to set personalized ask amounts for 100 people or 100,000 people at scale. It's pretty cool. Many of you use it. Automate Genius is the other big one we've got going on, which Stacy runs. Automate Genius helps people that have a razor's edge automate a whole bunch of amazing things. It was based originally off of using a tool called Power Automate, and kind of expanded from there. We can get into more details on that later on, but that's who we are. If you want to know, if this is one of your newer webinars, you haven't been on the past ones, and you're thinking, okay, these guys were fun, they kind of knew what they're talking about. I wonder if they ever talked about donation pages or pledge card design or letter writing. You are in luck because we have everything we've ever done is up on our website. Kudos to Rob Sims right now, who's on the call for getting this all put together. It is now housed under our Pringer Solutions Group website. So you can look up Pringer Solutions Group. You can go in the top right. I think you click on resources, and every webinar we've ever done is on there. It's nuts to see how many we've done. The common denominator of all these is I think Stacy's in every one of these because we never want to give a webinar without having Stacy there. If you want to hear about the stuff we have upcoming, you can subscribe to our newsletter. That's where we always say, hey, here's what we're going to cover next week. We're going to talk about recurring giving, or we're going to talk about plan giving, or we're going to share pledge card examples, or whatever it might be that people are interested in. And Rob can probably share the link there in the chat if you want to sign up for the newsletter. That's where you hear all sorts of stuff from us. But we won't bug you too often. I think it's like once a month at most. We're very short in our communication. Useful, practical, that's who we want to be. Okay, that was a heck of a wind up. All that to say, let's get into the topic at hand. Why recurring giving? So today we're talking about recurring giving, about how to develop the world's greatest recurring giving program. This is a topic we have done. I think we've done 3 or 4 different takes on this, and we constantly hear from our subscribers and from our clients. They always want to know about more about recurring giving. So today is actually kind of a mashup. It's highlighting everything we know about recurring giving and how to make it work and how to roll it out, plus some of the cool automation stuff that Stacy and her team have been doing to help you stay in touch with your recurring donors, to increase your recurring donors, how to process those recurring gifts in an efficient way. So it's sort of a left brain, right brain session today. All right, why recurring giving? This is the best stat that I can share because the average monthly gift is $52 and the average one-time gift to a nonprofit is $128. Sarah, which one of those would you rather have? If you had to choose, 52 bucks a month or 128 one time.
Ooh, I mean, it's a toss-up, but I'm definitely going to go for the higher one.
I like it. I like the way you think. I should have put that up as a poll for everybody to find out how people answer. You are absolutely correct. That is the right answer. And this stat is even more impressive. Okay, so let this be your takeaway from today. And if you haven't joined a webinar before, we move fast. We try and keep this very practical. So again, if you have questions, make sure to hit the Q&A button. But this is your first big takeaway. 57% of donors in the United States say that they are enrolled in a recurring giving program. And that stat is bonkers. So imagine all of the people in your list who are giving to your organization, your college, your university, your humane society, your church, your high school, and think that more than half of them have set up a monthly recurring gift if not to you, then to some other organization. That should give you incredible confidence that you should be asking people to sign up for recurring gifts to your organization. They're already doing it somewhere else. They should be doing it with your organization. Okay. The other two big things you need to know about recurring giving. Why recurring giving? Because they give more. When people make a recurring gift, they make larger gifts. They're more likely to give to other appeals that you do. It's not when somebody sets up that monthly gift. In many ways, they sort of set it and forget it. They support you. You're just you're part of their regular outflow of cash. They support you on a regular basis. And when you have a big appeal come up or a campaign, they will give again. We test that all the time. They don't say, no, 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 I'm already a recurring giver. The recurring giving is like the baseline support they give you, and then they'll continue to give again. Also, they're less likely to lapse. The biggest lesson we've learned about recurring giving, and I share this because you learn the most when you make mistakes, right? And this was something we tried early on with a whole bunch of clients, and we learned a hard lesson, so now we always want to pay it forward. So you can learn it from us, or you can learn it from my favorite people in the world at HGTV. Does anybody know their names? I did this with Leslie, and Leslie, who we were just talking about, who does all the home projects, knows these people. I think I know their names, but I'm curious in the chat if anybody can tell us who the heck these people are. Oh, Kathy wins. Hillary and David from from Love It or Listed. All right, Hillary and David from Love It and Listed. This is the framework I want you to think of when you're thinking about how do we do recurring giving at our organization, right? Maybe you don't have a big program yet. There's two ways to think about it, okay? And it mirrors, I promise you, this analogy works. It mirrors how Love It or List It is set up, okay? So Love It or List It, you got Hillary or David. One of them, and I believe it's David, always wants you to go buy a new house, like start something new. Like forget about what you've already done, forget about all the love and care you've put into your home. Go start from scratch and do something new entirely, all right? That's David. This is Hillary. She says that you should fix what you have. So stay in your home. You put a lot of time and effort and energy into it. Fix it up, right? Do something more. That is the same choice that you face when you're thinking about recurring giving. You can either go launch a recurring giving program from the ground up, something brand new, letters asking people to make recurring gifts, a whole new initiative, do some maybe giving circles or something around it. You can do it brand new, or you can take what you're already doing, your annual appeal, or if you're a hospital, like your grateful patient program. If you're a school, maybe your alumni appeal. Take that and just start sort of feather recurring giving into it, right? Start to talk more about recurring giving, but keep with the core of what it is that you've been doing. And the answer is, sorry for the animations there, very clearly fix what you have. You should add recurring giving to your existing appeals long before you ever start something new, and maybe even never start something new. And that's what we've learned. So again, in our day job, we work with dozens of clients. We raise hundreds of millions of dollars a year. All of them have substantial ongoing annual appeals or regular appeals out to their folks. In many of them in our early days, we would try and start up something new. We're going to start a new recurring gift initiative. We're going to call it a legacy society or a sustaining giver society or whatever it might be. And we'd have a whole new brand and everything around it. And they all failed miserably, right? You get a couple people to give, but it was nowhere near what we wanted. Contrast that when we would take the existing fundraising efforts that were going out, the regular cadence of when you're sending your mail, when you're doing your appeals to your organization, and we would target a group and ask them to make a recurring gift. Or we'd ask everybody to make a recurring gift and really kind of work on our donation pages, which we'll talk about. And that was wildly successful. So don't start something new over here. Take what you're already doing and think, how can I promote recurring giving? How can I invite people to make a recurring gift in the methods that we already have going on? Okay, so that's the biggest summary of even some previous webinars that we've done. That's your takeaway. Look at what you already have going on. Talk about how do we bring recurring giving into this. You will have a whole lot more success than launching this as something brand new. And here's the practical way that you can do some of these things, okay? So the first is in pledge card design. This is a longtime client. Sarah, this is your client, I believe, right?
Yeah, these are from the early days. Yep.
These are the early days of Nashville. So what we did, I just like it because this pledge card kind of highlights what we're talking about. Old school fundraising, you'd send a letter, you'd send sort of a blank one-size-fits-all pledge card, and they could write in their gift amount, or if you're smart, you can have them check a box to make their gift amount. New way is you actually can divide it out like this, right? Lead the donor straight to what you want them to do. And in this case, opt to make a monthly gift. You'll notice here, I don't have language about would you like to be a sustainer? Would you like to, set up a recurring gift? We're speaking in a language that donors know, which is a choice. Are you a one-time giver or do you want to make a monthly gift? Okay, so they go in, they check a box, and then step 4 on the back, we have it right here. For those people that said, I want to give monthly, you let us know, do you want to keep this going indefinitely or do you want it to go, let's say, until December? Okay, so yeah, this is 4 years old now. Look at that, December 2020. What that does, so this was our first foray into this, and it was wildly successful because what it does is it spoke to donors in a real language that they understand, and it was something that seemed approachable. It was something they're clearly willing to do, make a monthly gift. And if they didn't want to be a sustaining, recurring giver forever, they would click monthly, and then they would check off only do this until the end of the year. And effectively, what they've just done is they made a 8-month pledge or 9-month pledge, depending on when it is they filled it out, without ever having to say, I want to make a pledge, because the word pledge scares people, right? They're just, I'll make you a gift right now, or I'll make you a monthly gift, but I want you to stop it in December. Those are very practical options, and they're ones that donors love, right? We have the data to prove it that this works really well. So on your pledge card, you can steal this design. Rob can put a link in the chat. We've done a whole webinar on the world's greatest pledge card. I think we have template downloads that we've done over the years that you can download the world's greatest pledge card. A whole lot of time and energy has gone into this, so go ahead and take our advice. I think we even have a Word template, so if you're a smaller nonprofit, you can just customize the Word template and run with it. I would also note this. We always want to highlight the ease of making a gift online. So yes, direct mail is important. You have to send out direct mail if you're going to fundraise that's in a significant way. We are not yet, maybe we'll never be at a point where you can do an email campaign and have it have any success. It just doesn't work. Fundraising is largely a direct mail game, but that's outbound. As far as people making gifts, more than half the people who receive your direct mail will go online to make a gift if you make it easy for them. So you want to make it easy for them. So on your pledge card, I strongly recommend you have a giant spot that says you can go here to make your gift online, and then you get them into your donation page funnel. Okay? And this is where we're going to talk about what that online donation experience should look like if you want to get a whole bunch of recurring gifts. And here's what it looks like. Okay. For the clients that we work with, and we largely work in the world of Catholic dioceses, large Catholic dioceses that are raising 5 million, 15 million, $20 million a year. We run their appeals, we design their donation pages, we run all sorts of experiments to learn what works and what doesn't. This is what has worked really well. The first line that we invite people to when they go to a donation page is a recurring gift page. Now, you have to have asked them for a recurring gift on the letter, but when they follow your advice and they go to make a gift, they get to a donation page that says monthly gift. Thank you for your monthly gift. You want $10, $25, you're prompting them to make a monthly recurring gift. And if they don't want to make a monthly recurring gift, you're letting them click to another page that lets them make a one-time gift. Okay, so I'm going to show you the hierarchy, and then we're going to jump in there and show what it actually looks like on the donation page itself. But this is what the internal flow chart looks like for a whole bunch of nonprofits. And if this is new to you, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this isn't how we operate, make sure to go back and watch this recording and share it with the other people in your office because you're behind the times. Your donation page experience to your hospital, your high school, your college and university, whatever it is, should look like this. It should be a flow chart of what is the first page that people get to make a donation, and then funneling to other pages. So in our case, we start everything with a recurring gift page. We segment it out so that low-end donors are asked for a recurring gift of 10, 25, or 50. The really high-end donors might be asked for $150 all the way up to $1,000 a month. If they don't want to make a recurring gift, we send them to a different page with only a one-time gift on it, right? And in some cases, we send them to a pledge page if you have pledges. And then over here, we have our special purpose pages, right? Like, so we have a page just for signature donors. Sarah, what is the signature donor page? What does that look like?
Those are going to be for more, sometimes we call them sophisticated donors too. They're going to be for more of your donors who give at major gift levels, who necessarily you don't want to put a $10,000 ask amount, for example, on a pledge card. You direct them there and it allows them to fill in that large gift amount.
Got it. And so then if it's sophisticated donor, that's a place you can put like IRA gifts, right? Charitable,
Mhm.
qualified charitable, like plan giving, stuff like language that would appeal to somebody that can make a significant gift.
Yeah, you're asking them to make a gift to the appeal, but you're also promoting or educating them about all the different ways you can give, which include those other gift types as well.
And I love how you guys have solved it that way too, because I always worry about, the donor that can make a gift of $10,000. I feel like a schmuck, like sending them a letter and being like, hey, go to our page and sign up for a $10 monthly gift. It just doesn't feel right, but I still know that they want to give online. Okay, so you got a signature donor page, default donation page. This is just what? This is the what like is linked from the website.
Kind of like a main, it allows you to a collect all or a catch all page where it may not fit nicely into one of the other buckets. It allows you to still be able to send a donor to a page to make a gift that has all the things they might need.
So if you're sending mail out, you're directing them to one of the URLs to one of the specific pages. But sometimes if they just remember, they just want to make a gift on their own, they're not going to know what that little subdomain was, so they're going to go to the website, right?
Yep, and it allows
Okay.
you, by doing it this way, you can track it, right? So if you're sending only direct mail to recurring pages, you know that that's how they got to you. If they got to you for by more of a main or a default donation page, you know it's more kind of a general gift that was made to the organization.
Got it. Got it. And then special project page, you might have a couple of these. Like if you do, maybe you're trying out, like we try out all sorts of stuff. That's why we do all these webinars because we try fun stuff and then we tell you when it doesn't work and we tell you when it does work. Maybe you're doing a big text to give campaign. Maybe you're trying something on social media and you just want to be able to track it. It's okay to have 3 or 4 different donation pages out there and just know that every gift that came in through here was part of that big text to give campaign. So you can easily tell what worked and what didn't. So this, before I move on, I just want to be clear. If your nonprofit does not have a donation page experience that looks like this on the back end, you really should get up to speed, right? Go watch the webinar. I think that Rob linked in the chat and understand how you can set this up because it just works really, really dang well, right? You're going to get more recurring gifts. You're going to get people to make larger gifts. So make sure you're setting this up. It's easy to do on the back end. We can talk more about that if you want in the Q&A. And as far as how does the donor experience this? The donor experience it like this, like you just brand those URLs with something benign, right? So we know that the top left there, charity.org/appeal, goes to the recurring gift low level donor page, right? And at the bottom left, charity.org/impact goes to the super high level donor, recurring gift page. Your donor has no idea, but this lets you merge these URLs into your pledge card and into your email follow-ups and into your letter itself without the donor having any idea that you're sort of funneling them to a specific direction. So that's the way that we solve it. It's been elegant. It works really darn well. So make sure to give it a shot. If you have questions, hit the Q&A button. As far as what the donation page looks like, this kind of shows you. Again, this was kind of the early mock-ups from when we were just kind of having our eyes open to how well this would work. This is what that page looks like when we talk about a monthly recurring giving page. So the donor received the letter. They then went to the URL that we prompted them with. They get here. It's very clear this is for a monthly donation. If they don't want to make a monthly donation, they want to set up a one-time gift, they click on that button and they go to a whole different page, which looks like this, right? So what you're seeing is we've actually separated out the donation forms. So Stacy, a lot of times I know, like with Razor's Edge or with Virtuous and the other ones, it'll be sort of a one size fits all donation form where you can like toggle something at the top. Are they all like that now, or are there some that are still like different?
There are some that are different. So yeah, and some of them you can choose the default and some you can't. So we actually solved this way back in the day before some of those options were even available. And so you just have to kind of play around with what you have to see if you can get it to do what you want. But I love this option. It's
Yeah.
nice and
And I like it. I think it's definitely an advance to have a donation form that you can like toggle as the donor. Hey, I want to make this a monthly gift or something. But as a fundraiser, I don't like that. I like being able to say this is a one-time gift page. We're going to bring them over here if we want them to make a monthly gift, because I want that control over it. I want to look at it as a funnel. But also, didn't we see? We don't need to say which vendor it is, but that there was a donation form that had to toggle, but you couldn't change the amounts, right? Does that ring a bell? What were you dealing with
Yep.
there?
So that was yeah, a donation form where you could give them the option to either make a recurring gift or a one-time gift, but the amount choices were all the same no matter what they chose, right? So, you had to say 100, 500, 1,000 for both things, right? And then you had to have a $10 option on your one-time gift page that you don't really want and those kinds of things.
Oh yeah. So you're massively underperforming on your one. If it's a one-time gift, you're massively over asking if they toggle over to recurring giving. Okay. All right, we can talk a ton about that if people. It depends on our audience. If our audience is frontline fundraisers or back office, if you want to know more about setting up donation pages or if you want to know more about the letters. But we can talk more about that. Just putting something in the Q&A. Again, just kind of highlighting back to the page, we want them to make a monthly donation. It looks a little something like this. They can click on the stuff they want. What we found, and this data is now 4 years old. I mean, we keep doing it because it keeps working, and I can update our slides here at some point. But we found that 31% of donors who gave online made a recurring gift. And we've been tracking this for years. I would be comfortable telling you confidently that 20 to 25%. So this might have been a high water mark with this one client, but as we do it more and more, you can generally get about 1 in 4 people to make a recurring gift. By following this strategy, invite them to make a recurring gift, start them off on a recurring gift page, and about 1 in 4 will follow up on that. So think of that right now. If you're running an annual appeal, what would you do if 25% of your givers had a locked-in gift that was set up and they will just set it and forget it and they're already coming in throughout next year? You would take that all day long. Online recurring gifts are 20% higher than offline recurring gifts, which matches everything we've ever seen about online giving. People just give more, period, full stop. They just give more. When people give online, they give more than when they write checks. And new donors, 44% more likely to give online than existing donors. So that's your opportunity, right? Move people to give online. They're going to give more. And when we get them online, we can get them into our funnel and we can more likely get them to make a recurring gift about 25% of the time. Okay. So we talked about pledge card design. We talked about donation page design. I want to talk briefly on fundraising letter here. This is another one of those where we have taken a deep dive. This is not the session we're going to tell you everything about the letter, but I'm going to do the highlights and I'll let Rob link in the chat if people want to do the full hour on what the best fundraising letter looks like. Short version is you should have this. So take your screenshot right here. This is your first webinar. This is everything you need to know about your fundraising letter. It needs to be longer than you think. The font size needs to be bigger than you think. Why is that, Sarah Aligo? Why do we need big font size?
Because your average donor's age is 68. And it's been 68. It'll continue to be 68 no matter what generation we're in.
Yes. You and I are going to be 68 talking about the 68-year-olds.
That we're the average.
That's just how it is. And yes, new donors are important and young donors are important and all of those things, but it doesn't change the fact that giving is generally an old person's game. And I don't even say old person. 68 is not old. Don't get offended if you're on the line. But that is what happens. It's just the cycle of life. You start to increase your giving in your 40s and 50s. You really hit your stride around 60s. That's where you should put your focus, right? So make sure you're writing a letter that's readable to them, that tells a good story. We have template downloads that you can actually, this version right here is what we think to be the greatest fundraising letter ever written. You can download it and see what we mean. What I want to highlight today is just this part right here. The way you write a letter, and I saw a question in the chat before I lost it. Somebody asked about like libunts and sibunts and segments. The way you should be writing your fundraising letter is write one amazing letter, right? Make it 2 pages, make it larger font, all the things we talked about. And then within that letter, there's going to come a point when you make your ask. That ask is what should be segmented. You don't need to rewrite 7, 8, 15 different versions of the letter. You just need to rewrite that ask that says, I know who you are, I see you, and here's what I'm asking you to do. So you might have a segment that looks like this, which is for major donors. And that paragraph that you insert or your printer inserts tells them, you're one of our most generous donors. I'm so grateful for your generosity. Thank you, on and on and on, right? You might have a member of a giving society. You might have a lapsed member of a giving society. Perspective, you have a recent new donor. All of these opportunities for you to say, I see you, I know who you are. This letter is written for you, okay? What I'm telling you under this topic of recurring giving is you should have a group that is a prospective recurring giver. Okay, and what I'm looking for there is anybody who's made a ton of gifts. I don't care about gift size at all, right? And in fact, the more they've given, it makes them less likely they're going to be a recurring giver. The best recurring giving prospect is someone who's made 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 gifts to your organization. Every year they're given to your annual appeal. If you focus on pledges, they're making pledges in those 10-month payments or whatever. Those are the people that are going to be recurring giving. Target them with a message that says, I see you, you've been one of our most consistent supporters. Would you like to join 3,000 other supporters that have set up a recurring gift, right? It's easy, it's safe, you can shut it off whenever you want. Many of them will take you up on that offer, right? And of course, link them to an easy page where they can do it online. Okay, so that's how you tackle the letter. Again, I'm not getting into all the letter details. I just want you to know, make sure you have a segment for prospective recurring donors. Let's talk about fundraising email for a second, and then we're going to kind of shift gears and talk about some of the amazing wizardry that Stacy and her team have on the automation side that can help you do all of this stuff. The fundraising email, we did a huge research project a couple years back where we took a client's entire list and we took half of them and we emailed them every 2 or 3 weeks over the course of an entire year. Just heartfelt emails, telling them how great they are, telling them what's going on with the organization. The other half of their donor list, we didn't do anything with, just normal operating. And then we measured to see what the impact was. And what we found, among many other things, was that the folks who received those consistent emails were 3 times more likely to make a recurring gift than those who didn't. Okay? 16% of people who received those regular check-in emails made recurring gifts. Only 5% made a recurring gift if they didn't receive those, which means they were 3 times more likely. The takeaway here, without going into all the information, which again is its entire webinar on its own about email fundraising, the takeaway for recurring gift side of it is that you should be emailing your donors a whole lot more often. They should be personal, heartfelt emails coming from a real person. Do not email your donors from a do not reply address. Do not do it, right? Don't do it from a generic, development at, Humane Society or whatever it might be. Have it come from a real person. Limit photos and graphics. Ideally, you have none in there. Don't hyperlink things. Use raw URLs. 8-to-1 nourishment ratio. You should be emailing 8 times with something heartfelt and touching and empowering for every 1 time that you ask for money. This will get you, Sarah, am I correct? Is this still something that gets like the fundraisers, puts them in conflict with the comms people and the designers? Isn't this always like a rub we have where we're telling them
Yeah.
don't over design it and they always want to?
Yeah, I mean, typically organizations have one shared database, hopefully, but sometimes they don't, right? So I think it's open communication of what you're wanting to do from a development standpoint and what the comms department wants to do from their standpoint. So the more you can communicate about that, the better. But that's the rub, right? Everybody's got their own kind of agendas of what needs to get done. So
Your
essentially,
graphic designer is going to want to design everything, right? Like when you have
yeah,
when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You want to over design things. It doesn't work, right? Simple, plain, heartfelt emails with just text only will always outperform something with a nice banner on it, no matter how great and colorful it is.
yeah, because at that point they know it's a mass email. They don't think a person is actually sending that. So at least they'll second guess it when they go, wait a second, why isn't there an image in there?
Which is counterintuitive, right? Like you design
Yeah.
things to make them look pretty, but in reality, all you're doing is signaling to the donor, this is for everybody, right? Like
Mhm.
that's what it does, which is counterintuitive.
Yep.
People always ask me, how often should we email donors? This was a rough example that we put together back in 2022. When we counted it up, it was 34 emails. 30 of them were about impact and appreciation and saying, I see you and you're terrific. Only 4 of them were invitations to donate. Okay. All right. Solicitation emails. This is the phrase I like to use. Again, we'll send you the slides and you can copy it. But there's something powerful about other people are asking me, so I'm sharing this with you. It just works. In fundraising, you're emailing your donors after you've sent the direct mail package and you say, hey, just wanted to reach out. We sent a letter. And just so you know, a bunch of people have been asking, yes, you can give online. And here's the link where you can make an easy gift. You'll be shocked how well it works. Look at email. Here's the way to do it. Your direct mail package is the compelling, tug at the heartstrings, tell a good story. That's going to remind them and invite them to make a gift. The email is like the practical assist, right? It's like the package already did its work. Now the email is just like, oh, it's a bump. It's a nudge. It's like, hey, here's the link that you can easily do what you now want to do. Okay. So that's all of the high level marketing side strategy stuff that we know about recurring giving. I want to talk, Stacy, about fundraising automation because you've got 3 really practical things that help in this world that everyone's always asking about. So first, let's start here. For folks who haven't been on our webinars and seen the wizardry that you guys are doing, what do we talk about when we say fundraising automation?
So Power Automate is a Microsoft product that just lives in the Microsoft universe, and it allows you to connect applications that wouldn't normally talk to each other. And so what we can do is we can get data from Razor's Edge and then use it in all of these things and about 600 other applications. Or you can take data from these applications and put that back into Razor's Edge through Power Automate. It's really powerful. You can kind of do almost anything you can think of. So if you've ever wondered if you can connect 2 things that don't connect, you probably can.
Which is a big deal, right? And again, we got webinars galore on this, but short version of all that, if you're a database administrator and you have not yet, if you're not regularly thinking about automation, you are behind the times. Or if you're young and you're new to this field, you're thinking, how do I get ahead? I really like this. Like, how do I sharpen my skills? Go all in on automation, right? Look up some of the stuff that Stacy and Austin are doing. It's on the Facebook forum, it's on Razor, it's on LinkedIn. You can go to our previous webinars, but automation is crazy useful in the nonprofit world space, in the fundraising space. I want to share some of the automation stuff specifically on recurring giving that you've been doing. So the first one, this is what brings most people into automation. This is their big aha moment, is that you can automate the solicitation of gifts. Here's what we're talking about. Many of our clients use the service that we've spun up called Automate Genius, so that when they go into work, their major gift officers, their development directors open their laptop and they see sitting in their Outlook drafts folder, they see a whole bunch of emails just already sitting there waiting for them. This is done through automation. So imagine a world where your frontline fundraisers open up their laptops every morning and there's emails written to their donors for them, right? And they just click on them. And if it's not a good fit, they just delete it. If they know the person, they can personalize it, add something in at the top, tweak it, and click and send it out, right? So they spend 10, 20 seconds per email. You can do 5 every morning. We have a lot of clients that do 10 every morning. And it just, the repetition of it builds this relationship with clients, okay? So the guts behind the scene of this is that you can decide what you want those emails to be through automation. You could set up an automation, Stacy, that says, anytime we run an annual appeal, and if somebody gives a lot more than they had the prior year, let's send them a special message, right? And say, hey, John, I noticed that you increased your gift. Is that something that people are doing, Stacy?
Yep, they love it. It's nice to be able to call those people out without having to manually go dig through Razor's Edge and find them.
Right, yeah. Previously, you'd have to pull a query or a list and look through and compare stuff and do math. Like now, it's just draft the dang email. And think how that feels for John in this scenario. John's like, oh my gosh, they noticed, right? I increased my gift from 50 to $100 and somebody emailed me about it. I feel great about that because we do want to be noticed, right, by the nonprofit. So that's one example. Could be a birthday, which is simple. Everybody loves birthday emails. Could be a milestone gift. We got a lot of organizations that like sending gifts to let people know. Same way, hey, it's your 10th gift, your 20th gift. This is the 100th gift you've made to our organization. But for recurring giving, it could be automatically if someone has made 4 gifts in the last 12 months, as soon as they make that 4th gift, serve up an email to my major gift officer who's assigned to that person or to my development director for a small shop and say, hey, I noticed you've made quite a few gifts. Would you like to set up a recurring gift? And if you automate it, it will get done, right? Because all of the, Stacy, that's what I love about automation. It's all the stuff, none of it is like, I don't mean to diminish automation. None of it is like, oh, unheard of. I can't believe this amazing idea. No one's ever thought of this before. That's not what it is. It's all the stuff that we should be doing every single day. It's just we never have time,
Exactly.
right? So I would love to send that email to everybody that makes a frequent gift and invite them in. I'm never going to take time to do it and write it out. So just have automation force your hand where you just have to click on it and send it, right? And then existing recurring donor, right? An email to them telling them thank you. We get this question a lot. Once we have a recurring donor, does that mean they're locked in forever? Usually it comes from a CFO. We're working with an organization, we're working with the development team, and we're really goosing the recurring gift numbers, right? And we're getting people to move over to recurring gifts. And then the CFO comes in and says, well, they're never going to give more now. There's always going to be locked in at that, that $10 a month. And that is not true, right? And in fact, you can actually automate a process, which we're going to talk about here, okay? So let's talk about processing the gifts, and then I want to go to the thing that we're doing in Phoenix and Dallas about increasing the gift. All right, tell me, you speak to this better than I do. Tell me what we're talking about. This is the Matt Thacker automation flow.
Yep. So this is primarily something that those of you that work in Razor's Edge will understand. If you're working in a different database, you probably have some other annoying version of this that you're dealing with. In Razor's Edge, we currently have database view gifts that you have to go in every month or every day or whatever and create a batch and say, okay, find me all the gifts that are due today. Let's run the credit card gifts and do all of that, right? Or you have to send them reminders or something. If they make gifts through Razor's Edge NXT WebView forms, those will process automatically whatever day the donor chooses, and you never have to think about them again, which obviously is magical, right? For those of us that spend a ton of time on this stuff. So Matt Thacker from the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance developed this automation that actually goes and finds any manually processed recurring gifts that you have and can either convert them to an automatically processed gift or can send you a message that says, there's something, the schedule is weird. We can't automatically run this one. So super, super useful. This is in the Blackbaud template library right now. So if you have a little bit of know-how, you can go and set this up for yourself today. It's awesome, super useful if you're using kind of both versions of recurring gifts still.
Yep, love it. So for my simple, limited knowledge of Razor's Edge, well, moderate knowledge of Razor's Edge, a lot of organizations are straddling NXT and old OLX or other forms, right? Donation forms. So they have a lot of recurring gifts that they had to process manually. NXT gifts go automatically, but you're still left with these old ones. We now have an automation thanks to Matt Thacker's big brain to go and click a button and make those automatic, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. That's why I love automation. Like it just solves these really painful, thorny things that just take up time, right? It's not rocket science, but it takes up time. And if you can make something a single click, that used to be a whole bunch of manual labor. That's awesome. To the point I was making before, where I denigrated all those wonderful nonprofit CFOs out there who sometimes see the glass as half empty when they should be seeing it as mostly full. Let's talk about automations to increase recurring gift. What are we doing here? What does this look like?
Um, I love this, and I want to point out that you don't have to automate this. It saves you a ton of time, but if you're not doing something like this, you need to figure out how to do it manually if you can't automate it. But what we're doing here is we're taking our recurring gift donors and actually generating a URL for them that will send them to a pre-filled form, right? So it's just a web form. It's not a donation form, right? We're not going to ask them to go to a donation form and make another gift because then we have two gifts and we have to deal with that, right? So what we're going to do is send them to like a Google form or whatever it is that you use. And depending on what you use, you can put URL parameters in so that we can fill in these name values, and we can even pre-select which of these options we want to ask them for, right? So we could say we're going to ask Joe Smith to increase his monthly gift by $5, but we're going to ask Susie Q to increase hers by $20. But then they basically click a link in the email that says, yes, I'd like to increase my monthly gift, and they click on it, and it comes here and it says their name and it has an amount, and all they have to do is click yes, and it's done. The other cool thing we've done with this form is that we've actually hidden the constituent ID in it. So it's a hidden field on the form. The donor doesn't see it, but it comes through that URL that we send them, so that when we get the form responses back, it already has the constituent ID. So it takes literally seconds to say, this is the donor, this is the amount I'm increasing by, and it's so, so easy. So
I
yeah,
love that.
it
I
solves
love
a
it.
ton of problems.
So Nick and Holly have a $20 recurring gift. I get an email from the nonprofit that says, "Hey, thanks, that's awesome. If you've been blessed, you want to increase your recurring gift," and all I have to do is click on the yes, increase it $5 or $10. Takes me to the form. It's not even a donation page in any way. I'm not getting my credit card out. I'm just saying 5, 10, $20 increase, and it gives you the alert to then update the gift.
Yep, super
Oh,
easy.
that's super cool. Okay. If you want to know more about any of the stuff, and I actually have a poll here. So many of the folks online here are falling in love with automation because of all the things that we've been doing. If you want to know more about Automate Genius, because we're done talking about it now, you can let us know. Here we go. All right, so if you want to know about Automate Genius, like how specifically Stacey and her team are automating those emails to go out, how she's setting up this automation for recurring gifts and all this other stuff, let us know. We can send you links to webinars. We can set up one-on-one sort of private demos all day long. It's crazy, right? It's absolutely nuts. Stacey used to be a humble, brilliant Razor's Edge person doing database work, and then this whole automation thing came out, and now she's like the most in-demand person in the United States because she's figured out so much amazing stuff to do, right? So if you want to know more about that, let us know. We can reach out. We can show you some cool stuff, and we'll go from there. So I'll end that one. Thank you all. All right, before we get to Q&A now, so we talked about a whole bunch of stuff, kind of a rapid fire. What we're doing next, the next webinar we have is even more specific for Razor's Edge clients. We're going to talk about Razor's Edge dashboards, a little bit of Insight Designer. We're going to talk about automating some report stuff. Rob's going to join us on camera for that. He's our resident dashboard wizard. And I would also plug this. If you are going to BBCon, actually, I'm curious. I'm going to do another poll here. I'm curious if people are attending BBCon or not. If you're attending BBCon, let us know. So last year we did this thing. Mankey, this was your idea, wasn't it? It was like a week before, we're like, you know what? There's lots of people that have questions about like travel and what to do and stuff. So we did this little 10-minute preview webinar, and it just like broke the internet. Like everybody showed up. They were all sorts of excited for it. So we're doing that again. Mankey, are we doing the Slack channel thing again?
Yeah, we're also doing the Slack channel. So it's
So
just
what
a
is
cool
that?
way to keep connected with everyone that's there, ask questions. We'll give you good tips on food and places to go in between sessions. So it's a lot
Awesome.
of fun.
Awesome. Okay, so I haven't seen it, but I'm sure we can put it in the chat. You can sign up for that. It's if you're going to BBCon, you're going to want to attend, even if it's just for the restaurant recommendations. Mr. Mankey and I have spent a lot of time in Seattle. I don't know if I've shared that with the group or not, but we have lots of opinions on Seattle restaurants and
I
public
hear they have great seafood. Is that
yeah, I don't know. I've never had it. But I can tell you where the nearest Kava is to the convention center. Okay, so that's that. I'm gonna take us now to Q&A. So I'll stop sharing. Uh, Mr. Mankey, have you been following it all? Is there any stuff in the Q&A that you want to highlight that we want to get to here?
Yes. So the first one, Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Nice to see you. So do you use QR codes to direct donors to the website?
Yes, absolutely. Ideally, you're using both. QR code is for anybody that's more comfortable giving on their phone. Scan it, takes them right there. But don't only do a QR code because there's still plenty of people, myself included, my parents, people who donate, who generally prefer to do that stuff on a computer just because I got big bratwurst fingers and my phones are always too small. So make sure that you use a URL, give them a tiny URL or something easy. Don't send them to, Habitat for Humanity, omaha.org/giving for the future, powered by just giving, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't do that. Send them to a tiny, easy, digestible URL and then give me a QR code as well. It works really well. The stats show that more than half of people who give based on direct mail will give online. So just make sure you're leading them where they want to go anyway, and make sure it's a segmented page. So yep, QR codes and making QR. I mean, do we have a recommended vendor for that? Like you can make a QR code out of anything, right? Like you
Yeah,
just
you can
Google it.
go just search for it on Google. There's tons of things. Just make sure when you do set up a QR code, make sure there's not like an expiring date. So you want to be careful of that too.
Oh
Might
yeah, yeah.
expire before you want it to. So you want to keep track of that. But there's plenty of free vendors out there, free services where you can set those up pretty easily.
And make sure you test it on. We have run into wonkiness one or two times on like Android versus Apple. Like if you know anybody
Yep.
that uses an Apple phone, then sometimes it's wonky because Apples aren't as good as Android. But like you just have to protect for that. So make sure that you check on that as well.
That's not true, Nick. It's not true.
Constant source of friction here at PhD. Questions about all true? Yes. So Stacy, explain what we do for automation and like all true Razor's Edge. You want to talk about endpoints?
Yeah, so AllTrue is in the Sky API ecosystem. So yes, we can automate things in AllTrue. It's very similar to Razor's Edge. Yes, short answer is probably can do anything. AllTrue and Unbounce, I suspect would work also. Unbounce is just kind of I don't really know what to call it. It's just kind of a shell where you can like design web pages. Rob might have more explanation of that, but I think they could house any kind of web form that you're using. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just a very basic email or a website provider that you can just drop in the code, the HTML code into whatever field you want. So if your all true donation forms have an HTML code, you just drop them in there and you're good.
Love it. Stacy, I'm going to ask you about this from Karen had asked a question about like gift cancellation. So like, talk to me about this, about like gift cancellations. Are there things that I believe there's in Razor's Edge that will actually get the new number if there's a card that expired? Like, what does that world look like? And if people are doing manual labor, what should they do different?
Yeah, she's right. It's very, very time consuming for sure. So a couple of suggestions. So yes, I think Razor's Edge does have a credit card updater feature now that I don't know if it's an additional subscription or what you have to do to get it, but it'll find you a new expiration date when a card rolls over, right? If all the other information is the same, but they've gotten a new expiration date, it can find that, which saves a ton of those calls, right? Because probably half of your card calls are expired cards every month. They're not usually actual fraud. It's usually, expirations, right? So that's a huge bonus. other things you can do to improve your processes there. If you get a $0 gift, you can actually commit those into Razor's Edge, and then you could create an automation that would find $0 credit card gifts and either alert you or send an email to the donor or something. So automation can save you trouble there if you're willing to put $0 gifts into your system, which I know sometimes throws off some people's reports, but it also could, then you can go and delete them later.
Oh, that's a super cool idea. You look for a $0 gift, it automates an email from the assigned solicitor, says, hey, by the way, it looks like a credit card. Here's a link if you want to set up a new gift.
Yep.
Or update your credit card or whatever it may be. Oh,
Yep.
that's super cool. If you're a giant organization, even a moderately large organization, that's going to save you a ton of time.
There's tons of phone calls and letters and things. So, yep.
Okay. Awesome. I see. Did you see the one in the chat from, I think Joan just asked this. Stacy, we're going to pick on you again. How do you hide the constituent ID so that when you get the form, this is on the recurring gift bump up form?
Yeah, that form is in Alchemer. So that allows you to have a field in the form that the outside facing side doesn't see. So we can use our URL parameters to send data to that field, but the person filling the form out online won't actually see it. So that's how it works. I think it's called a hidden field in Alchemer.
Yep. And that is something, again, so those forms are not Razor's Edge or Salesforce or anything else. Those are just Gravity Form, SurveyMonkey, Alchemer is the one that we use. So any of the sophisticated ones are going to let you do some of that cool higher end stuff, right? So you can hide in the parameter, push it through so that when it gets to you, it's as easy as possible. And that saves you from having to do things like we've had some clients who don't create a donation form that requires somebody to know their constituent ID, right? Like that's the surest way to lose 80% of your online gifts is create hurdles for people. So you don't need to create a hurdle, just pass the ID number through and you'll be all set. Okay, Rob, on your end, before I close this out here, is there anything that we didn't cover like donation page wise or anything that people need to know as we talk about? I know you covered Unbounce a little bit. Anything on here that we missed?
No, I think, yeah, I love the segmented donation pages. We've been doing that kind of since we started, and it's kind of been our bread and butter, and it works really well. That Sarah can obviously attest to with all of her clients. But yeah,
how hard is it to clone those out? So you create one, and then you gotta how long does that take? Give us some perspective.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, one of the questions that we talked about, we've referenced them a little bit. I typed the answer, so people may not have seen it. It was Unbounce is what we're talking about. It's a program that we design. So we kind of get around your internal IT by doing this. We work with our clients and are able to set up all these donation forms that are really easy. They're really clean. I mean, you saw the examples Nick showed at the beginning that they're really simplistic donation pages, and that's on purpose because we want people to give and not really get distracted with anything else. But yeah, we do that through Unbounce. So you go to unbounce.com and it'll explain it. It's simple, very easy design. We drop in. Yeah, you're right, Nick. You design one page, you duplicate it out. Basically, they all look the same except the donation form and the links if you're sending them to a higher recurring gift page or whatnot. But it's a really easy program to do. You can track visits and track conversion rates and all that good stuff.
Should you, if you have to create 20 different segmented pages, Rob, should you duplicate those and create all of them before or after the client gives final approval on the language?
Yeah, if they're going to add a period later, let's wait until the duplication. Wait until they approve it 100%.
The last possible minute is when you should clone those out. Okay, so folks, that is everything for today. This was, I think, a good session. Lots of good engagement. We appreciate it. This is obviously a topic that I mentioned we get asked about all the time. We'll get you the slides. We'll get you the recording. If you wanted to know more about Automate Genius, we can talk to you about that. BBCon stuff, make sure you sign up for the Insider Preview and the Slack channel and group that we do. We're going to have all sorts of fun and games going on there. And as always, feel free to reach out to any of us. Our emails are on the website at printersolutions.com. And we will see you all next month. All right. Thanks, everybody.